Shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, this some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. I mean, like, we can put all that clown shit away. This some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah, it's in their bones, the thoughts and harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
Yes, what's going on, Pete's man? Back in the damn building. We're here for the Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund preview. Guys, make sure, of course, you're smashing the like, sharing, and subscribing to the damn channel. As I said before, man, yes, a preview. It's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. I say that and watch it be bloody 0-0 or some rubbish like that. I hope not. Anyway, it's two very interesting teams. Two very interesting teams. I think looking at it on the face of it, this game does have quite a lot of history. Obviously, we know with Barcelona, you know, in terms of them in this competition, especially even against, you know, Borussia Dortmund in recent times. And when I'm looking at the kind of form guide, you know, the two teams, especially, you know, Borussia Dortmund, you know, I mean, this season ain't really been too good for them. I'll be honest with you, man. They're not really having the best of seasons, you know. In the Bundesliga this season, they're currently sitting in 8th position, you know what I mean? And they are way, you know, off of top or even second, to be honest with you. But to be fair to them, they're only 7 points off of 3rd place Frankfurt at this current moment in time. You can see with their last 5 games, they've won 3 out of the last 5. They won 4-1 just recently. Barcelona, again, they've been on this crazy unbeaten run. You guys can obviously see they haven't lost in 22 matches, man. That's crazy. That is absolutely mad. Obviously drew 1-1 at the weekend against Real Betis, but they've been on a crazy run, man. They've been on a crazy one. Hansi Flicker's, yeah, man, he's got Barcelona playing some good football. Good football. You know what I like about, you know what I like about Hansi Flick, right? And it's why I always gas up thing. Obviously, listen, German managers, you know, I'm kind of a little bit iffy with them, but Hansi Flick, yeah, with what he's done with Barca anyway. And it was, again, I always go back to this point when Hansi Flick came in to Barcelona, was that my worry was that you're a manager who your philosophy, your DNA of the way that you played or you have played with, whether it's Bayern Munich, German national team, is, in my opinion, at the time, didn't really align with Barcelona's. Barcelona, we know La Masia, you know what I mean, the Pep Guardiola, you know, way, you know, of playing football. And I thought, if someone like you comes into the football club, how are you going to be able to mesh the two together? And I felt like at the time it wasn't really going to happen. I didn't really think it was going to be something that was going to, you know, be very fruitful, to be honest with you, because I thought it's not even that it's opposing styles. Like, there's obviously similarities within that, but at the same time, I felt like maybe, and again, this is where, listen, I will put my hands up and I'll say I was wrong, you know, about Hansi Flick, is that I just felt that he was going to come in and maybe change it too much. And obviously, we talk about managers coming into new teams. We look at Liverpool with Arne Slot. Don't really change too much in that first season. You know what I'm saying? Whether you do the same next season is obviously a different, you know, different question. But don't change too much. Don't do too much, because if you do too much, then, you know what I mean, it's gonna start looking a little bit crazy. But and I feel like what he's done is he's almost just mixed and blended the two. Again, a bit like what, you know, Arne Slot has done at Liverpool, is you mix and mesh the two. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you make it so that I've got my style of football and I want to play my style of football, but I also understand you're coming, and this is where I guess Liverpool and Barcelona differ. Liverpool don't really have a style of philosophy, if I'm being totally honest with you, you know, in terms of that's been ingrained in the football club for decades, whereas Barcelona do have that, you know, kind of even before Pep Guardiola anyway, but he's obviously enhanced, you know, what that actually means in terms of bringing players through, always making sure you have a cohort of players from the academy coming through, but also there's a DNA, there's a way that we want to play, there's a style that we have here at Barcelona. You need to be able to kind of put that into your philosophy in some way, shape, or form. And he's done that, as well as then adding his own bits, which is, well, I'm also someone who likes to go a lot more direct. I'm also someone who, you know, wants to move the ball a bit quicker than, you know, you guys are probably a bit used to. And I need players to be more athletic in a way where, you know, it's going to help, you know, with the team. And listen, it's happened at times. I've watched Barcelona this season, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, look at the space in behind, and it's very risky at times. But at the same time, you can tell when I'm watching them again, they've still got the tiki taka, they've still got the in possession, kind of play. So yeah, listen, like I say, man, I hold my hands up with Hansi Flick. He really has impressed me this season in terms of the way that he's got Barcelona, playing, and to be honest, alongside PSG. And I'll be honest, more PSG from January onwards, but PSG were still, they've always been kicking ball, but I think it clicked for them, come January. But Hansi Flick this season has really been, someone who I've definitely, my respect for him has definitely gone up, as a manager. But in Dortmund's respect, wow, this season, like I said, man, in 8th at the moment in the Bundesliga, and I'm just like, bro, things are just not really panning out for you. But it's weird because in the Champions League, I'm like, yeah, but they're kind of a different proposition in the Champions League. I don't know why. Maybe because it's one-off games and stuff like that. It's that kind of vibe. I don't know. You'd have to speak to a Dortmund fan, about that. But yeah, I feel like this is why I feel like it's going to be a tricky game for Barcelona. If they're not careful, yeah, you could be on the end of a bad result. Obviously, Lewandowski coming up against his former team. Obviously, got Guirassy here as well, who's the obviously new striker for Borussia Dortmund. He's had a really, really good season moving on, from Stuttgart, and I think it's going to be a really, really good battle for them. Obviously, Rafinha. I saw this, I was like, right. So what? This is just in the Champions League. Both Guirassy and Rafinha, 11 and 10 goals. That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. When you're looking at it on the face of it. To be honest with you, I think with Guirassy especially, like I said, moving from Stuttgart, to Borussia Dortmund, I think there was always going to be that. All right, is this going to be, are you someone who can continue this? Like, are you going to be able to, score the goals? I mean, he's got 25 goals in all competitions this season. Bearing in mind, this is coming off the back of a 30-goal season last season. You know what I mean? Like, he's really up. Listen, I have to give my utmost respect to Guirassy, because in these 2 seasons now, he's showing that he's not a one-season wonder, and he's showing that he's been able to go up a level, kind of thing. And I always have massive respect, for players who are, able to do that. And of course, Rafinha this season has just been a bit of a revelation, in terms of his form and some of the performances he's put in for Barcelona, this season, especially in the El Clásicos, has been really, really good. Now, of course, listen, look, when you look at it, as I mentioned before, in the last few times, obviously Barca have obviously played against Borussia Dortmund. You can see here, Barca have come out on top twice with a draw in there, but it's always been it's always a good game. It's always a really, really good game, between the two sides. So again, I do think it's going to be very interesting, to see how that kind of pans out. This is how Dortmund set up in their last game. Well, this is how they've got it on paper anyway, but we know paper is one of those kind of things. They obviously set up with a 3-5-2 formation with Adeyemi obviously up top with Beer. Obviously, Emre Can, remember him? Emre Can obviously playing in at centre back. Obviously, Julian Brandt in there as well. And yeah, as I say, this is kind of how they set up. And this is what I say, on paper, it looks one thing, but when you look at it on their actual average positioning and stuff like that, you can see Adeyemi's obviously further up. And I said this before Barcelona, my match preview, before Barcelona plays Girona, one of the things you've always got to worry about is when you've got someone like that. So in this case, you've got Adeyemi. For Girona, it was Danjuma. When you've got a player who is so far away from the rest of the team in terms of he likes to stick up front, you do need to be a little bit wary because of the high line that Barcelona do like to play at times. You just need to be careful in terms of what you're trying to do, really and truly. Because if you're not careful, Adeyemi is rapid. Like he will get there. Do you know what I mean? Like, he is actually rapid and he can finish. You don't want someone like that, having time and space. You don't want Julian Brandt picking up, the ball in pockets of spaces in behind your midfield area. Once he can do that and he can, lift his head up to then play a ball into Adeyemi, I feel like that's going to be, a little bit problematic. And that's where I'm looking, both Adeyemi and Julian Brandt, if they both start tonight, of course, that's where I'm looking at it. Jamie Gittins as well on that, on the wings. Again, they do provide a threat for Barcelona that I do feel that if Barcelona are not careful, they're going to end themselves you know, in problems. Obviously, Barcelona with that 4-3-3 kind of setup. Well, for those who know Barcelona anyway, I feel like we know kind of how they're going to play. They're going to have their fullbacks, especially Balde, very high and wide. Balde will, at times, you're probably going to see him playing up front because if he does start anyway, he likes to obviously bomb up there. You've obviously got Pedri, who likes to kind of drop in and again dictate tempo. Absolutely brilliant player. Of course, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Lewandowski. Well, Lamine Yamal and Rafinha especially, they're definitely going to be two players I feel are going to, you know, affect the game, you know, potentially in a positive way for Barcelona. When we're looking at like the predicted 11s, again, this is just what SofaScore obviously have, you know, have put up. They've got it here now as a 4-2-3-1. And as I said, on paper, in the last game, it looked like they had three at the back. And I think that will just help with defensively at times with Borussia Dortmund. Again, like I said, with Rafinha, with Lamine Yamal, with Lewandowski potentially dropping in, and potentially Fermin Lopez if he starts, which I think he should start. This is the team that I would potentially go with for, you know, tonight's game. This exact team. You know, I feel like Fermin Lopez, listen, man, I honestly think he's a top player. Well, top young player anyway, and I think he's got the potential to be a player that who's going to be underrated just because, you know, he's not the flashy name in the team sheet or whatever. But when you watch him play, listen, he's another player, a bit like Julian Brandt in terms of in the attacking sense, where he picks up pockets of spaces all the time. He's always floating. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, he's always switching positions, whether it's with Rafinha, whether he then goes beyond a Lewandowski, whether he picks up the ball out wide, which then allows someone like Lamine Yamal to then push infield. He's very good at doing that. And he doesn't mind then dropping into the midfield to also help out. So I feel like that could potentially, you know, help Barcelona, you know, against a Borussia Dortmund. Just, you know, at times, if, you know, Borussia Dortmund might want to make the game a little bit congested in that middle of the park because they want to leave the wings, you know, free for an Adeyemi, for a Jamie Gittins or whoever is playing out wide there. He can help, you know, potentially with all of that. So that's where I kind of look at it for Barcelona. But like I said before, when I'm, it's always so tricky. Adeyemi, you just need to be very careful with someone like him. He is, I stress this again, he is fast. Do you know what I mean? Like, he is so fast. So you just have to be careful. Barcelona, yes, I know you're going to play with a high line. I know that ain't going to change, but just be careful in terms of the way that you do, of course, play this high line, because you will get caught out. And of course, when you've got Guirassy, someone who can finish, someone who's a fox in the box, but also you can play the ball up to him and it can stick. And he can bring others into play, whether that is Svensson, whether that is Brandt, whether that is Adeyemi, whether that is Gittins, whoever it is, you know, that could then cause a little bit of an issue. I think, personally, I feel that, you know, with the midfield that, you know, Barcelona have, I feel like they will be able to win that midfield battle. But again, nothing is, of course, you know, set in stone. So that's why I'm like, just be a little bit wary, you know, because Dortmund, from what they've shown Champions League anyway, they've shown that they can be quite a rigid side. They showed that they can be a team who can sit in if they need to sit in, but then be a danger on that counter attack. And they've shown that they're a team that can be very organized when they need to be. Barcelona, we know what their strengths are. We know how good, you know, that they can be. And if they get going in the game, it will be curtains anyway, you know, for Borussia Dortmund. But again, like I say, it's just one of those, man. I don't want to disrespect either side, to be honest with you, because it's Champions League, man. You never know. What I keep telling people, don't underestimate the Champions League. Don't do that. Liverpool did that. Now they're sitting at home watching everybody play this evening. But yes, I think in terms of scoreline, I'm going to go 3-1 Barca. I am going to go 3-1 Barca. I don't know why. That seems to be my favorite scoreline recently. But yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 to Barcelona. I think they get a good lead, you know, in that first leg. Dortmund will make it difficult, I feel, anyway, for Barcelona. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, you know, potentially on that. Obviously, I will be back with a match reaction, and, you know, we'll look at the game tactically in terms of where, you know, Barca went right or where they went wrong in the game. And hopefully we're coming out with a victory for Barcelona, taking to that second leg, and then we can potentially progress through, you know, to that next round. But let me know your thoughts, people, on the game between Barcelona and Borussia Dortmund. Who have you guys got winners in this first leg? Let me know in the chat, and I'll catch you guys soon.